Welcome to the Mortgage Podcast, where we give tactics, strategies, and inspiration to get you to 10 plus loans per month. We talk a lot about how to make a ton of money in mortgage while also being happy and thriving in your personal life. If you want to be a mortgage millionaire, you're in the right place. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Mortgage Podcast with Todd Screema, where we focus on getting you to 10 plus loans a month. So today we're talking about why target market. When I first got in the business, that was 33 years ago. I made a bunch of calls. People call them cold calls. I call them opportunity calls. And this is at the point where I was making all my own calls, all my own opportunity calls. So I called this gentleman and he says, yeah, Todd, I just had one script that I used and I just used it over and over again. And I'd call 30 people a day and I'd get 2-3 appointments. And then I'd go present to them. So, I'm about 6 months in as a loan officer. I drive about 30 minutes across town to meet this Century 21 agent. And I think his name was Tom. So let's just call him Tom. And man, I've got this 2-step close down. I've got my sales process down. I've got visual aids. I got my bag of tricks. I'm ready. And I walk in this office and Tom and I meet and the meeting just goes great. I mean, he's just like, man, Todd, I've never really met with someone that was so organized and you answered all my questions and we'll definitely do business. And he was about 20 years older than me, realize I'm like 21 or 22 at this age. And I just thought, man, another account. So I'm getting ready to leave. We met for about 40 minutes. I said, by the way, Tom, how many families did you help last year? And he said, 1. I thought I misheard him. So I said, no, not last month, for the whole year, 12 months. He said, 1. It's been kind of slow. So then literally I'm like, okay, Tom, here's my card. See you later. And I just was so embarrassed. And I'm like, I just drove across town for 30 minutes. I'll drive back for 30 minutes. I spent 40 minutes with him. So I'll waste almost 2 hours and there is zero business there. Zero. I didn't quite learn my lesson because I ended up doing that over and over and over again. And I do remember getting my first big account. And then I was like, oh, that works a lot better. So it was a gentleman that I had met in downtown Sacramento. His name was Victor. And Victor and I hit it off. And he liked me for some reason. And like from that point forward, we were doing 2 deals a month, 3 deals a month, every month. Then I got a big home builder. That was a big account. But I was kind of dumb on this stuff still. And I would still catch myself meeting with people, accounts I'm talking about, that just didn't do any business. Now, the reason I tell you all this is it's super important. This is kind of like in personal life. Let's say that, and this is going to sound kind of mean, but I think, part of a podcast is you can speak a little freely and hopefully explain it where people get it. Back when I was in high school, a freshman in high school, I finished my freshman year. I was hanging around these 4 guys and we were all best friends. We were together every day at school and every weekend. And one of the guys started driving and we would go out and do some, like when I say dumb things, like pretty dumb things. But the problem was the things got dumber and dumber. And at one point we stole a cow off the top of a fast food restaurant, like a big, huge, 12-foot cow. Hopefully the period of when I can go to jail for that is past. Because that was like, I don't know, 40 years ago. But then one night I couldn't go out with them and they did something criminal. I'm talking criminal. And I remember they called me on Sunday morning and told me about it. And I got off the phone and I was like, if I keep hanging around these people, I'm pretty sure I'm going to go to prison. So fast forward, I actually had a meeting with them at school. And I said, guys, I'm going a different direction. I plan on going to college and I can't get caught doing some of this stuff. Like it's not going to go good for me. And I had a breakup with my friends and I started hanging out with this other guy and he was great. He was into kayaking and mountain climbing. He was a 3rd-degree black belt. I had no idea and just got me into he didn't drink alcohol. Like the guy was just great. He went on to become a doctor. 2 of my 4 friends went to prison. So that's a long way of saying you are who you hang around. And it's very true in business. So let's talk about this just for a little bit. I got some data from Mike Ferry, and he sent me some data points
Actually, he didn't, a friend of his did. And if his stats are right, through the first 6 months of 2025, 71% of all agents in America closed 0 transactions. If you think about that, 7 out of 10, if realtors are your target market, 7 out of 10 you shouldn't even call on at all. And this is super important. On the contrary, I have one of my loan officers in our Jolt process. She met with an agent last week, about 2 weeks ago. He did 110 deals in this small town, and she walked out of there with 3 transactions, and he's sending her 1 or 2 transactions a week. He told her, he's in this small town. She had to drive an hour to meet him, and he's like, no one ever calls on me. And she's like, you're one of the biggest agents in the whole country. Never gets a phone call. He's just in a small town. He dominates a small town. He's like, I can't work with any of the local lenders. None of them are any good. I had a client in our Jolt process that met with an investor. He owned 80 homes. He's in the process of refinancing 10 of them and selling another 15. So she was able to give out 15 listings and help him with 8 or 10 loans in 1 month. So, this whole idea of target marketing is so critical, I can't tell you. We go after financial planners. Well, we try and target market the financial planners that have 200 or 300 clients, not the ones that have, 20 clients, because there's more loan opportunity. So that I could go on and on. It's that idea of target marketing, and I think there's a part of our brain called the reptile brain, and it's kind of the first phase of all of our thinking is reptile brain. This is Rene Rodriguez teaching me this stuff, and he's like, our reptile brain just says if we just make a bunch of sales calls, we'll be safe. When really it's making a bunch of sales calls to the proper audience. In a silly way, it'd be like a single man going to a place where there's every single lady there is married. That's not a good target market, right? He would single man or woman would go to a place where single people hang out. Or maybe it's an app where people are single on the apps, right? You would target market that better. And so in this short podcast, I want to implore you, all of these softwares exist. Modex is a great one, MMI, there's several of them that we use to find out who's doing the business. And let's just go after them. If you think about it, just this one concept of target marketing, just the concept and doing a little bit of it, the 10 people that you call on, right now, most of you, about 6 or 7 of those 10, you should have never called on. And you shouldn't even be in relationship with them in a business setting. You just spend some time targeting. Take a Saturday and be like, hey, for 4 hours, I'm just going to target market, all of these things. You will never regret doing that, ever regret doing that. Because then you come back and your sales calls, 10 out of 10 calls that you make are to your proper target market. And your sales effectiveness will more than double. So if you were closing 3 loans a month, now you're closing 6, just because you're calling on the right people. That's the only change you made. I'll end with a quick story. So when people come into Summit, let's say they come into the Jolt program, we take their list, their top 40 realtor list, what they tell us, hey, these are my top 40 agents that I know that I do some business with. We scrub them against these databases, and we find that 80% of the people they're calling on, they shouldn't even be calling on. These are successful loan officers. These are loan officers closing 4, 10, 20. We had a client close 33 last month. Another client closed 23. So they're successful loan officers. They don't even realize it, but part of what we do for them is just do their targeted marketing for them. So every person that they meet with, every account they meet with, they know that they do business. We've properly targeted them and called them so that they know when they get that appointment, they like, hey, that's a good one. So I really hope this helps. Please share it with one person that you're like, hey, this person probably needs to target market better. Share it with them. That's how this stuff grows. My goal is to help all those loan officers out there. If you're doing 4 loans a month, let's get to 8, and then let's get to 10. That's the whole goal of all of this content, is to use my 24 years of coaching people and helping loan officers become multimillionaires and do a bunch of deals, get to that next level. And it warms my heart. It's what my purpose is. So I hope you enjoyed it. Please share it with one person. Have a beautiful week. Talk to you soon.